Mr. Yi Peizhuang from Ministry of Civil Affairs, DDG Wang Xinxiang from Ministry of Finance, and Madam Gui Zhen, Director of the Unemployment Insurance Department of the Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security. So they will take questions on today's topic. First of all, let me give you the update of the pandemic. Yesterday, between 0 and 24 o'clock, China's mainland reported that there were 42 new confirmed cases, including 38 imported cases, respectively Heilongjiang 28, Shanghai 3, Shanxi, Inner Mongolia, Guangdong 2 respectively, and 1 in Tianjin. 4 are indigenous cases, respectively 3 in Guangdong and 1 in Heilongjiang. For new fatal case, 1 in Hubei. New suspected cases, 3, all of them are imported. 2 from Inner Mongolia and 1 in Shanghai, respectively. Yesterday, there are 85 cases cured and discharged from hospitals. For close contacts removed from medical observation, 1,823, and the number of severe cases dropped by 32. For overseas imported cases, the remaining confirmed cases numbered 733, including 34 severe cases. For remaining suspected cases, the number is 53. In total, there are 1,141 confirmed cases, 408 cases who are cured and discharged from hospitals, and there's no fatal case. By the end of yesterday, China's mainland reported that now there are 1,116 confirmed cases, including 144 severe cases. In total, the number of cases cured and discharged from hospitals is 77,455. Fatal cases, 3,336. And confirmed cases reported, 81,907. For remaining suspected cases, the number is 53. In total, for close contacts traced, the number is 717,378. Close contacts still under medical observation numbers 11,176. For Hubei, yesterday there's no new confirmed case, nor suspect case, nor remaining suspect case. For newly cured and discharged cases, the number is 49. For new fatal case, 1, all of them in Wuhan. Now there are 351 confirmed cases, including 348 in Wuhan. Among these cases, there are 103 severe cases, including 101 in Wuhan. In total, the number of cases cured and discharged from hospitals is 64,236, including 47,085 in Wuhan. In total, the number of fatal cases is 3,216, including 2,575 in Wuhan. In total, the number of confirmed cases reaches 67,803, including 50,008 in Wuhan. China's mainland reported that for newly increased asymptomatic infections, 47, including 14 overseas imported, and for cases transferred to confirmed cases, 14, all of them are imported. For the cases removed from medical observation, 40, including 15 overseas imported. For asymptomatic infections still under medical observation, the number is 1,097, including 349 overseas imported. In total, the number of cases confirmed reported from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan is 1,398, including 973 from Hong Kong SAR, 45 from Macau SAR, and 380 from the Taiwan region. Over the past 7 days, indigenous confirmed cases increased by 16, so this is an 11-case increase. This indicates that the population movement has triggered more risks for infection, and confounded by other complicating factors, we are faced with increasing pressure on the resurgence. So according to WHO, for the first time, the daily reported confirmed cases exceeded 80,000. Over the past few days, we see the rising trend of overseas importation, so it's necessary to increase the capacity at the border points. That's all for the update. Now we will have the Q&A. Please focus on today's topic and put forward your questions. Please identify yourself. Now the floor is open. First question. On the right, on the 5th row, the First Lady reporter, please. Thank you. With the Southern Metropolitan News, for people in great difficulty, on March the 31st, the executive meeting of the State Council requests that from March to June, the temporary price subsidy will be doubled. So how to implement this policy instruction? What are the specific arrangements? We will have DG Peng to take your question. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your concern about the price policy. After the State Council's executive meeting, NDRC has worked immediately with the ministries who are present today, and we have discussed the specific details to implement the policy instruction. We've already worked out a policy circular. I'm sure some of you may have already noticed this policy circular, as it has already been distributed to the localities. You may find the details in this policy circular. The core component is that we are going to increase the subsidy standard. Let me give you some of the specifics. First, we will increase the criteria or the standard to provide subsidy from March to June. The monthly subsidy will be doubled. Second, we will expand the coverage from March to June. Based on the existing coverage, we will also expand the coverage to orphans or children at the moment who have not been taken care by the related caretakers. So this has increased the coverage by over 8 million. Thirdly, we have increased the funding support. The local financial budgets and the unemployment insurance fund will also be engaged to provide the financial subsidies. We will have different ratios in the light of the local conditions. And at the same time, we are going to accelerate the efficiency and reduce the time in the process. So it is hoped that within 20 working days of the price indicator, the subsidy will be provided. In the coming months or weeks, NDRC will work together with the sister agencies to oversee the implementation of the policy instruction.
谢谢.
Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the first row on the left side. With the Phoenix TV, the COVID-19 may exert impact on the collection of subsidies by the employed. So what are the measures adopted to ensure that they can collect their unemployment subsidies? DG Guizhen is taking the question. Thank you for your question. We have been implementing President Xi's suggestion on the online collection of the unemployment subsidies for those who are covered by the policy must be entitled and enjoy the subsidies. Our ministry has been promoting these targets with the following measures. First, we've extended the collection timeline. The agencies distributing the unemployment subsidies should extend the timeline for collection. The unemployed can use their social insurance cards to go to relevant authorities to collect unemployment subsidies. They don't have to provide the proof for the dissettlement or the termination of work contracts. When the unemployed are collecting the unemployment subsidies, they can at the same time apply for proof for unemployment certificate or proof. They don't have to go to different government departments to go through the cumbersome procedures. Also, government departments should not ask the unemployed to transfer their personal files, and they cannot record their unemployment status into their work career files. Besides, we've announced online collection platform in 297 cities. As of before the end of April, all the prefecture level cities can have the online collection of unemployment subsidies. We'd also like to ask friends of the media to give us more information, disclosure, and dissemination. The unemployed can go to our website and WeChat account number, and also the app 12333 to look for the platform online where they can collect unemployment subsidies. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the first row on the right side. Thank you. With the CCTV. In the Standing Committee meeting of the State Council, it was explicitly pointed out that further support should be given to the vulnerable group. The orphans were included into the coverage of temporary subsidies. What will be the measures adopted by Ministry of Finance to implement the suggestions, the policies from the State Council? Thank you for your question. Since the outbreak of the COVID-19 epidemic, there has been impact on the vulnerable groups. Ministry of Finance has adopted two measures to ensure support to them. First, we have increased the input into the relief money. Last year, the Central Finance has allocated 147 billion RMB, which were used by localities to support the entitled groups, the orphans, and other vulnerable groups. And this year, in light of the COVID-19 response and impacts, Ministry of Finance has increased the budget to support local governments to ensure the essentials of the vulnerable people. Besides, we've also improved the temporary support to mitigate the impact of commodity price increase on the vulnerable groups. Ministry of Finance collaborated with other departments and adopted some temporary subsidies and supports. As DDG Peng has mentioned, the current entitled groups include those who are collecting the low subsistence subsidies and those who are collecting unemployment subsidies. We've also considered orphans and the children without guardians and the unemployed. that have been cut off from the work because of the epidemic. Therefore, we have expanded the coverage. The above-mentioned groups have been included, and the temporary subsidy has been increased by one-fold. It was also pointed out that the expenditure of for the unemployed will be covered by the unemployment fund, and the temporary subsidy will come from the central financial budget. The central finance support to the eastern part of China is around 30% and 60% for the western China, for the middle part of China, and 80% for the western part. The rest part of the overall support will be provided by local finance. Soon, the central finance will allocate this amount of the temporary support, and we will continue to guide local finance to distribute the temporary subsidies to the needed. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the fifth row on the left side. Thank you. With the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone News, we have increased the temporary subsidy, and the entitled groups, the low subsistence allowance collectors, have benefited from these temporary policies. What are the measures adopted by Ministry of Civil Affairs to implement these subsidy measures? Inspector Yipei Zhuang is taking the question. Thank you for your question. Yes, indeed. The vulnerable group has been the group that has benefited most from this joint prevention control mechanism and the joint response mechanism. Impacted by COVID-19, almost all localities have initiated with the financial support to provide subsidies to the vulnerable group. 61 million people times have collected a total of 1.88 billion RMB as subsidies. The subsistence allowance takers numbered 56 million person times, and the destitute groups 690,000 times. On a monthly basis, per capita collection of the subsidy was 47 RMB. In Hubei province, the 3.7 million person times got a value of 440 million RMB as a subsidy to respond to the temporary commodity price increase. The central government's decision of improving the subsidy temporarily was the help provided in the most needed time, which can set off the impact of COVID-19 on the life of the vulnerable people. Civil Affairs Ministry has been collaborating with Ministry of Finance and NDRC to implement the good measures. We've guided the local civil affairs to make an assessment. Second, it was distributed timely and in full to the vulnerable people. Third, we've enhanced tracing and monitoring to learn about the actual distribution. We made statistics, made analysis to deal with possible issues. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist from the third row on the right side.
Thank you. With CGTN, because of the pandemic, some people will live in difficulty. So what about the coverage of the unemployment insurance? What are the specific measures as the safety net? Okay, we will have Madam Gui Zhen to take your question. Thank you for your question. The unemployment insurance has the function to ensure the daily lives of the people. it covers two categories of the target populations. The first is the unemployed people in urban areas, and they will get the monthly subsistence, and also they can enjoy the price subsidy. And if they take part in the unemployment training, they can also enjoy the training subsidy. The second category is for the rural residents who are unemployed. They can get the once-off income or the subsidy. For the epidemic, the State Council has identified 3 kinds of people who are entitled to receive the unemployment insurance. And also, we will apply the unemployment insurance fund in the particular period of time. For unemployed people, they can enjoy such insurance. Another subsidy is to increase the price subsidy. So this is the subsidy we have just talked about. That is from March to June this year. The target population will be able to enjoy the doubled price subsidy. Now the ministry has already distributed 9.3 billion unemployment insurance and also the subsistence allowance to migrant workers. Okay, let's continue. On the left, on the second row, the second reporter in white, please. With CCTV Financial Channel, in March, we were informed that the Ministry of Finance has already distributed 100 billion RMB yuan to support people to go through the hardship. What are the specific measures adopted by the ministry and the local governments to make good use of the fund? We will have DG Wang to take your question. Thank you for your question. Indeed, the pandemic has caused great impact on the people in great difficulty. In order to help the poor and the vulnerable, and also to implement the intensified price subsidy, the Ministry of Finance, apart from providing the over 100 billion RMB yuan of a fund, is going to allocate 53.1 billion RMB yuan. So the total reached 156.1 billion RMB yuan, far exceeding that of the subsidy for last year. Just as you have said, this is the assistance provided to rescue and save the people in great difficulty. So we will strengthen the oversight of the use. We will focus on 3 principles. The first is precision, that is to have the precise targets and provide the precise amount of subsidy to avoid any potential under support. Second, being timely. At the moment, the social assistance is provided through social means. That is to say, following certain procedures, the fund is provided directly to the individual bank accounts or the agency accounts. By doing so, we wish to minimize the steps in the procedure or in the whole process. And the third principle is guidance and security. We urge the localities and the related agencies to be transparent. They are requested to disclose the relevant information to the whole society. Also, for specific target population and the specific amounts, such component or such information should be shared with the general public. For the next step, we will continue to work closely with the stakeholders and ensure the secured and timely use of such fund. Okay, on the right, on the second row, the third gentleman reporter, please. With People's Daily, in the executive meeting of the State Council, the people in difficulty will be included or will be covered by the ad hoc policy supporting policies. So how will the Ministry of Civil Affairs implement such instruction? Thank you for your question. We will have DGE to take the question. Indeed, in the ministry, we've worked out specific policies. We request the local staff to pay household visits and get the accurate information about the target population and target households. In particular, the focus is in the epic center as well as the extremely difficult households or individuals. And second, we try to minimize the approval time so that the target population can get access to the subsidies as soon as possible. For example, we have suspended the household visits and established the online application. Also, the localities are given more authority to give the approval and provide more financial subsidies in advance. And thirdly, we have innovated the assistance approaches. We have eased the restrictions concerning the household registration, and for migrant people affected by the pandemic, the local communities or the local government agencies are requested to provide the support. And also, we have strengthened the support on a case-by-case approach for the people or households under extremely difficult conditions and the patients of COVID-19. If they think it necessary, they can get access to the financial subsidies immediately. And also, their daily lives will be taken care of and they will be provided with the PPEs. At the moment, it is fair to say that the localities have strengthened their support to the vulnerable population. Take Wuhan as an example. Since the outbreak, the 129,000 vulnerable households and individuals have been supported. And in Guangdong, the number of newly covered beneficiaries has been increased greatly. Thank you. Let's continue with the Q&A. On the right, on the fourth row, the lady reporter, please. Thank you. With China News Service, in the outbreak, we can see quite a lot of fluctuations in price. So how to deal with the problem? We will have DG Peng to take the question.
Thank you for your question. During the COVID-19 response in 31 provinces and the Xinjiang Production Construction Corp, the temporary price subsidy initiative has started. In face of any pronounced price increase, NDRC has collaborated with other departments to initiate the response mechanism. For last year, localities have initiated a response mechanism. Up till now, the temporary price subsidy distributed amounted to 110 billion RMB. In particular, during the COVID-19 response, the distributed temporary subsidy amounted to 6.6 billion RMB. In Hubei province, 190,000 citizens got a temporary subsidy from the provincial finance, which has alleviated the impact of commodity price increase on the daily life of the general public. And the RC will continue to guide localities to improve and implement the joint mechanism of price subsidies. The subsidies will be distributed on time and in full so that the general public's life won't be impacted by the sudden increase of commodity price. Thank you. Next question, please, journalist from the fifth row on the right side. Thank you. With JKB. Ministry of Human Resources has adopted a temporary policy of unemployment subsidy, which has extended the coverage of the unemployed. So what has been the new sectors that have been included, and what has been the effectiveness of the policy? DG Gui Zhen is taking the question. Unemployment relief money is an unconventional policy adopted at an unconventional time, meant to help the unemployed and safeguard their essentials. In February, our ministry collaborated with 5 other ministries and issued a policy circular stipulating that the hardest hit regions, Hubei province, for example, can distribute unemployment relief to those who are not precisely defined as the unemployed. Later, we've adopted an implementation measure opinion for those who have been at the end of the unemployment period but haven't got new jobs, can enjoy the unemployment subsidy for another 6 months with a monthly subsidy less than 80% of the highest unemployment subsidy for the locality. It covers to all those that have been insured in our system, and when necessary, it can be rolled out across the country. 8 provinces have worked out implementation measures, and 3 provinces have already distributed the unemployment relief money. We will continue to guide localities to make assessment and adjust the accuracy system to ensure that the favorable policy can benefit those in need. Journalist from the 4th row on the left side, please. China Community News. We've learned that in some hardest hit regions, the people's income have decreased because they couldn't go to work, and they are in difficulties. What are the temporary support provided to them, and what are the eligibility criteria? I'd like to ask Inspector Yi Pei-zhang to take the question. Thank you for the question. As you have rightly pointed out, there has been such a predicament during the COVID-19 response. Ministry of Civil Affairs requires localities to extend the policy coverage by relaxing the criteria of household residence registration. When there are migrant workers who have such difficulties can apply for temporary relief in places out of their residence, so that they know where to go to deal with the difficulties. County above-level government authorities have set up social relief hotlines for the vulnerable people, and the people with difficulties can use these hotlines to inquire into the policies they may enjoy. And they can also use the Civil Affairs website and find the local hotline. They can dial the hotline for support, to seek support. They can also go to the local community CADA to make inquiry into the way to apply for relief. They can also go to the local community and the local authority and apply for help. During the COVID-19 response, many localities have shown ingenuity in using this favorable policy. For example, in the city of Wuhan, for those people who have been stranded in Wuhan, received temporary relief. As of April the 8th, a total of 14,000 people got such help, with a total value of 35 million plus RMB. As to your second question on the eligibility for applying for temporary relief, in general conditions, in case of fire, disasters, traffic accidents, the sudden increase of expenditures has gone beyond the affordability of the household, or the situation in which the household has experienced some extraordinary difficulties. Households and individuals as such can apply for temporary relief. So the things that you've pointed out belong to the policy that these unconventional difficulties are experienced by households or individuals. Of course, people can always ask the local Ministry of Civil Affairs Authority to have an answer. Thank you. Next question, please. With China Daily, we've learned that finance at various levels have a package of financial support to the vulnerable people on a yearly basis. So what are the support to these vulnerable people to ensure their essentials? I'd like to ask DDG Wang Xinxiang from Ministry of Finance to take the question. Thank you for your question. Ensuring the basic livelihood of the vulnerable people has always been a consistent priority of finances at all levels. Over the years, finance at all levels have been increasing our input, implementing policy arrangements in the following three aspects to safeguard the basic livelihood of the vulnerable people. First, social relief has been provided to the vulnerable people. The vulnerable people and vulnerable households have been included into the coverage of subsistence allowance. With the distribution of these allowance, they can satisfy their basic livelihood. For the unable or disabled, and also the elderly living in solitude, orphans, and the disabled can also get relief. To ensure their basic livelihoods, there are two items of subsidies for the disabled as well. This relief money has helped the entitled groups to deal with difficulties. This year, Ministry of Finance further increased the input into the social relief fund. Up till now, we've arranged 156 billion RMB. Second, for the entitled groups, we have distributed subsidies and allowances. This exemplifies the government caring for the entitled groups. Since 2005, the Central Finance for 15 consecutive years have been increasing the relief money distributed to the entitled groups by an yearly average of 10%. This year, we'll continue to make analysis into the percentage of increase of this relief money, which will directly benefit the 8.6 million people in the entitled group. Up till now, the central finance has made an advance distribution of 4.47 billion RMB. Third,
the central finance has provided unemployment insurance or subsidy to the eligible population, and also for the eligible migrant workers and the related targets, they can enjoy the once-off subsidy or allowance. And for unemployed who have not found jobs, they can get access to the unemployment subsidy. For the next step, the Ministry of Finance will work together with the sister agencies to improve the financial subsidies and the oversight. We will try our best to guide the localities to increase the financial subsidies and the support to the vulnerable and the poor people. Thank you. Let's continue the Q&A. On the left, on the third row, the third lady reporter, please. Thank you. With National Business Daily, could you please tell us the reason to have such a price synergy mechanism to help the poor and the difficulty? We will have DGE to take the question. We will have DG Peng to take the question. Indeed, thank you for your question. This is a mechanism going hand in hand with the price hike. So this is a temporary or ad hoc price subsidy. From the name of the subsidy, you can see three keywords, that is the price, the subsidy, and the synergy. The essence of this policy is, in the light of the price hikes, we provide some subsidy to the target population. As for the synergy, this is about the connection between the price hike and the subsidy. So this is a subsidy offered during the price hike. If the price drops, then the subsidy will be suspended. So this is the synergy or the connection between the price and the subsidy. Also, such subsidy is just an ad hoc subsidy. And also, the subsidy is going hand in hand with the minimum living standard allowance. If the specific person is eligible to claim such minimum allowances, then he or she is also entitled for this subsidy. The third synergy is about the financial assistance and the overall price in the market. If such a rising trend sustains, then the temporary or the ad hoc price subsidy will be will become a regular subsidy. In short, the essence of this policy is to ease the pressure on the poor or on the people in need. This policy was established in the year 2011. At that time, approved by the State Council, NDRC, and the related agencies, had identified the pegging mechanism between the subsidy and the market price. The localities also formulated their specific implementation methods in the light of local conditions. So this is used as an important guarantee for the daily lives of the target population. You may find the following features. First, it covers the major vulnerable population groups. Just as DG Wang from the Ministry of Finance has pointed out, it covers the population who are vulnerable, such as the unemployed and the people in need. Just as we have mentioned during the epidemic response, the orphans and the people who are eligible for unemployment insurance are also covered in the mechanism. And the second feature is that the trigger point is very sensitive and it is well targeted. When the CPI rises 3.5% or the food price index rises by 6 percentage points, then this mechanism will be triggered. The third feature is that the price subsidy is rise in parallel with the price index. So we will have the price increase multiplied by the CPI or SCPI. With such calculation, it can accurately reflect the impact on people's daily lives, so it can provide better coverage. Okay, we will have the last question. On the left, on the front row, the third lady, a gentleman reporter, please. Thank you. With Chinese families news, just now it is mentioned that the orphans and children who do not have caregivers are covered. May I know the specific number of children or orphans covered by this policy? And the second question is how to ensure the rights and interests of these children. We will have DGE to take the question. Thank you for your concern. First, this price subsidy has benefited all the eligible orphans and children who do not have any caretakers or caregivers. At the moment, it covers 242,000 children as well as 190,000 children who do not have caregivers. For the latter kind of children, this policy was implemented starting from January this year, and it may take some time to identify these children. For instance, some children's parents are lost contacts, so it needs to wait for 6 months. If the local public security authorities still cannot get in touch with the parents, then the children would be eligible children for such policy support. And second, this price subsidy has increased the daily allowances for the children and the orphanages. At the moment, the monthly average is 1,499 RMB yuan. And for children living in the society, the standard is 1,047 RMB yuan. And then starting from January this year, children who do not have caregivers are also covered, and their daily allowances will be distributed taking reference from that for the orphans. And of course, the financial subsidy is provided by the central finance. By doing so, we hope to ease the pressure for these kids and their families. And thirdly, following the central government's arrangement, the Ministry of Civil Affairs has adopted the following measures to ensure the rights and interests of these children. First, we have guided the local civil affairs authorities and the related staff at the grassroots level to report in a timely manner the situations of these children.
According to our survey, localities have identified, reported, and helped almost 400 children de facto unsupported because of the COVID-19 response. We've also collaborated with other departments to provide learning opportunities for these children, providing children with online learning equipment and services to ensure that while the schools are closed, they can still have their learning. We've also guided volunteers, the civil societies, and the social organizations to provide psychological counseling and social services to such children so as to alleviate the psychological pressure on the children. Thank you. I'd like to thank the guest speakers for providing answers and information on the support of a policy for the vulnerable groups. Tomorrow we'll focus on community prevention and the safe network needed. We'd like to have NHC and the Civil Affairs Ministry and the Community Management and Administration staff to take answers. We look forward to your continuous attention, and we end today's press conference.